a legend, right? Like we love Betty White. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Voices from the Mausoleum. This is the final episode. The word escaped me. This is the final episode for June. Things have been very weird for me. I actually had anticipated doing a lot of things differently for June, but there's been a lot going on in real life. And basically, the short of it is I just sold my house, which is why my beautiful studio is in shambles. Well, my work in progress studio, because it wasn't finished yet. But anyway, however, my new living situation is settled. I will be moving very soon, and everything will be set back up, hopefully ready to rock for a content-filled month of July. A lot of my increased content stuff, I'm guessing I'm not going to be able to do until August. Tasha and I have a really big project announcement coming up, either right after you see this video or the following week after. And then, that project is going to take up July and August. And then, we've got Mothman in September. And so I'm hoping I'll be able to make everything fit in. But I did want to give a very short update as far as the content stuff goes. I mentioned this in my Buffy video, which you guys would have seen already last week. And basically, I intend to amp up content. I'm going to go from doing one video a week to, I think, like 5. And I'm also going to, or 4. 3 or 4. Some stuff's undecided, a minimum of 3, but I'm also changing my setup for my podcast episode. Tasha and I are going to be doing an episode of Horror Bestie Breakdown every week. I'm going to be doing different things every other Saturday, every other Sunday as well, on top of doing spooky Sunday stories. That's going to change. I have a lot of stuff that's going to be coming, that's going to be changing. I'll probably do a shorts about the update, just because I know I did a poll on Twitter and people were like, I don't care about your updates, but I'm going to do it anyway for the people who do care and who do want to know what's going on. So, so there's a lot that's going to change, a lot of content that's going to get really amped up, a lot more collaborations, ongoing series, that sort of thing. All very good things. I think Steve and I talked about doing more stuff together too, as far as more than just 2 videos a month. So a lot of really good things in the, behind the scenes that I'm working on. So this moving stuff just took a lot of energy out of me, and it's very stressful. And, the circumstances kind of suck. So I'm just like, well, okay, it's going to be awesome. So anyway, I am going to put an update when I start amping up my content so that people will know what to look for, as well as maybe like putting a schedule up or something on my website. I haven't fully decided yet, but all that stuff is in the process of being, figured out. So, and Tasha and I have a very exciting, like very big, near and dear to our hearts project we're getting ready to announce. So preparing for that has been really rewarding already. So really excited about that. Anyway, why are we here? What's today's video? So we're in summer, and I just did sharks 2 weeks prior to this. I thought we would do 5 vacation recommendations. And that's what I'm going to call them, because honest to God, I don't really know what else you would call them. And so I was going to call them camping, but then I ended up finding some that aren't really camping. But I digress. I bet y'all miss hearing that. Anyway, so we're going to do 5 recommendations for vacation movies. We're in the midst of summer and everybody's going out and doing things. So yeah, we're going to start with the found footage movie. And the found footage movie that I want to talk about is one that I just recently discovered. Tasha is funny because she mentions this in a previous Horror Bestie Breakdown episode, where she's like, I never see stuff before you, but this was one that she had seen before me. And then other people had told me, I think JR from Horror Fiend TV had told me it was really good. Tasha had said it was really good. I thought there were a couple other people. So I finally watched it. And it's a movie called Exist. Yep. Exist. So Exist is a story about a group of friends who go to hang out at this cabin. And, they kind of sort of run into Bigfoot. I'm a Bigfoot enthusiast. I'm not a Bigfoot like fanatic. I don't know. It doesn't matter. Anyway, it's the sunlight. I'm like a vampire. It affects me negatively. Anyway, so right. So exist is that's the short of it. Why is it on this list? So exist is on this list because it's really good. So not only is it a found footage movie, it's also a creature feature about Bigfoot. So it's like wins across the board. And the acting, the way that it is filmed using the different camera angles and stuff, the setting, the scenes, the ending, the creature design. I mean, like, I don't think I had a single problem with this one. And one of my okay, so I've complained about this before. One of my biggest complaints about like monsters, demons, creature features, anything that has to do with like a physical thing that is out to get you or whatever, is that you all like a lot of times you see like way too much of them. But exist, you just see enough to be like, wouldn't want to run into that in the woods. Like it's so well done. The pacing is phenomenal. I love that they made the Bigfoot smart. He's not dumb. Humans are notorious for taking over things that are we think are lower than us. So I think it just makes more sense that he's smart. So in this movie, he's smart. I love that. So Exist is my first vacation recommendation movie. Yeah, I don't think I had, like I said, the casting and stuff is really good. The story is really cool. I will say this. This is not on the list. I will say this. I finally saw Willow Creek, which was a movie I thought I had already seen, but I realized I was thinking of Wolf Creek. Fun fact, that is not the same thing. And so when I went to watch Willow Creek, I was like, oh, I had all these thoughts about like I'd already seen it. And then I was like, I haven't seen this. I did not like Willow Creek. It's very boring. The mark for me. Exist is my Bigfoot found footage go-to movie. I really like that one a lot. I have to look at my list. Sorry. Yeah, so my number 2, I don't think I've ever talked about this movie on a single post or video or anything. I don't think so. Is Wrong Turn. A lot of people are familiar with this one. So this one is about another group of friends. They're going out to do this thing. And then on the way to do this thing, problems arise. And they're left dealing with these like, I don't know what you'd call them. We're going to go with humanoids because I feel like some of the terminology people used back then when this movie came out wasn't really very nice. So, but yeah, they come across these almost like they look mutated, sort of like Hills Have Eyes kind of thing. Not good stuff. That movie had me on the edge of my seat from the beginning to the end. It does not waste time jumping into, like the really good stuff. It's got, Elijah Dushku, which if you're familiar, I'm a Buffy fan. So Faith is in this. That made it good. And then 2 Disney people, I can't remember their names, but one of the guys was the guy that played the kid in Air Bud. And then the other person that I remember from it is, I can't remember her name, but she was in The Famous Jet Jackson. She played his sidekick on the television show he was on. Anyway, but that movie is just really well done. It's very, it reminds me a lot of like Texas Chainsaw Massacre as far as like, atmosphere and when we go to see where these people live and what that looks like and just the overall like feeling you get when you're watching it, like everything is dirty and grimy and yuck. Anyway, so if you haven't seen Wrong Turn, now we'll say this, I mean the older one. I have not seen the remake. I have heard a lot of not so great things about it. I've been told to skip it, so I just haven't watched it. I plan on doing a mini series on remakes at some point, so I'll probably eventually give in and watch it, but I have not seen it as of yet, so I'm talking about the one with Elijah Dushku, not the newer one that just came out a couple years ago. I know non-horror people that were like meh about it, and I feel like so I haven't seen that one. But yeah, so Wrong Turn is my number 2 on my list for vacation horror, which takes me to my number 3. I think Tasha will appreciate this one. Lake Placid. I saw a post on, I don't remember, Facebook, maybe. I don't remember, but it had the animatronic alligator in the water, and it's like moving, moving certain part, like the tail and I think the head are moving at the same time, and there's like divers around it because they're getting ready to film a scene. And I was like, I didn't know. I didn't know that it was from the movie. Like the first clip of it looked like I thought it was real, and my heart, like I almost threw up. Like I was like I had so much anxiety. I was so relieved that it was from the movie. Yeah, so Lake Placid, if you're not familiar, is an alligator movie about kind of this lake, and there's this big alligator and he's eating people, and they're trying to stop it from eating people. And the reason I said, of course, that I thought Tasha would appreciate this is because Tasha, if you don't know, and this was a huge fan of Betty White, and she is, of course, in this, and a legend, right? Like we love Betty White. She's phenomenal. She was a phenomenal human being. She brought us a lot of really great content in her career, and she's very very missed. But one of my favorite things about this movie is it is a monster creature feature with an alligator, but it doesn't take itself too seriously, but it's not silly, in my opinion. In my opinion, the shots are still well done. There are moments where you're like, oh shit, and then there's moments where you laugh, you get a little more invested in the people. Betty White's character is absolutely my favorite character. She's like, there's this one part that's like my favorite line. This is my favorite thing that she has ever said. She looks at one of the cops when they basically put her on house arrest because she's aiding the alligator. Spoiler alert, this movie's old. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. But she says, this is the part where if I had a dick, I'd tell you to suck it. I think that there are other alligator movies and stuff that I actually really like. Crawl Alligator, the movie Alligator, is actually on Shudder right now, I think. And it like blew. I've been seeing people post about that like crazy. There are other alligator movies, but that's one of my favorite ones. So Lake Placid was number 3 on my list for vacation horror. So my next one is one that I actually just recently discovered. So one of the best things, in my opinion, about being in the horror community, especially in content creating and people who are really into movies specifically, is everybody has seen stuff you've never seen or heard of. And so like when I find people that are huge found footage fanatics, I like cling to them. And so like I have several people in this like little tiny circle that like love found footage, except for the people who all of a sudden love it because Shudder did a documentary on it. Conversation for another day. I'm glad that this subgenre is getting love, though, because I'm a huge fan of it. And so when you start talking about these subgenres of horror that you love with people who also love it, they start giving you all these really great movies and things that you've never seen or heard of, which was one of the reasons we did Found Footage Month back in March, is because I wanted to explore more found footage stuff. And so this is a found footage movie I just recently heard about from JR from Horror Fiend TV. And it's a movie called The Gracefield Incident. Okay, so Tasha and I both really enjoy alien movies. And so when we did Found Footage Month, we watched a few alien found footage movies, but a lot of them were kind of like, well, they weren't very good. And so when JR told me about this one and he said it was good, I was like, okay, I'll check it out. So The Gracefield Incident is a film about this group of people who go to stay at one of the guy's boss's cabins for the weekend. And while they're outside, their first night there, this crazy thing comes out of the sky. It's on fire and it like crashes behind their cabin, and they go and investigate, and things happen, right? And so but it's an alien found footage movie, and I think, without giving too much away, it's very creepy. Like there are a lot of moments where I was really uncomfortable. So the one that we watched during Found Footage Month that I think a lot of us liked, those of us that got to see it, was Skinwalker Ranch. That is actually a very well done alien found footage movie. So I was kind of hoping for something along those lines. And this movie seriously delivered. The Gracefield Incident is really well done. And it has, I can't give too much away. I will say this. There's something that happens in the movie and you kind of wonder like, why is that in the movie? Like, is it going to come back to that? And it definitely comes back to it, but it has this twist ending that just left me like so happy. And I know like a lot of people know by now, I'm not really into happy endings. I think like I'm all good with like killing all the humans and possessing all the people. And like, I don't want good to win. But there was something wholesome about the way that this movie ended. And it left me feeling so happy and satisfied that I sat through the whole thing. It's really well done. So the creatures in it, you don't get to see them a whole lot, so you're not oversaturated. They're beautiful. They're very well done. The atmosphere, the moments that are meant to be creepy absolutely are. Like, the story is good. The characters were really well done. Like, the acting was good. The effects were basic, but they worked. And I love that so much. You can tell in this film that they definitely chose their moments carefully. This is the moment we want to use CGI. This is the moment we want to show some more things, because when you do it too much, you either don't have the funding to do it as much as you want, or it ends up being too much so that it doesn't work anymore. It's not effective. And this movie just was consistently good from beginning to end. There's no lull in the middle or in between parts where you're like, okay, when is this going to be over? I loved it. I thought it was really good. I highly recommend The Gracefield Incident. Which takes us to our final one. And again, these are just like my shark movies. These are not necessarily my top 5, although a couple of these would definitely make my top list. These are just, 5 recommendations for vacation themed movies that you may want to go see, or time away, I should say, not so vacation. And my last one, of course, you can't talk about groups of people going out to do things and having a good time and things going bad if you don't talk about The Descent. This is one of the scariest movies I've ever seen. And it's not just because of the creatures in the cave. If you're not familiar with The Descent, highly recommend this one as well. This is definitely up there on my list of favorite horror movies. You skip the second one. Just watch the first one. So it's a story about this woman who loses, the very beginning of the movie, she loses her husband and her daughter in a really bad car accident. And so, we fast forward a little bit of time, and her friends they go spelunking and they go whitewater rafting and they do all these like cliff climbing. Wow. Mountain climbing. You know what I'm talking about. Outdoor shit. And so she finally goes on this trip with her best friends, and, they're going to go into this cave and have this just like really chill, like girls time away. And it's supposed to be sort of this like healing, reconnecting thing for her, because she's having a really difficult time, having lost literally her everything, and so they go into the cave, and one of the main characters, Juno, lies about which cave system they're in, and they actually go to one that's never been charted. I don't know what you'd call it, like mapped out. Like it's no one's ever been through it, right? No one's come out that's not mapped. Like everything you're doing is like you're discovering it on your own. You don't know where to go. There's no way to navigate. And this movie, aside from the creatures that they discover in the cave, aside from that, this movie actually is a really good story. And the same things I've said about a lot of other ones. The acting is really good. I thought the pacing was really good. The sound design in it is phenomenal, because it's supposed to be inside caves. But one of the things that this movie does really well is I definitely am claustrophobic. Not crazy, like insanely claustrophobic, but definitely uncomfortable in small spaces. Which does me really well when I go to haunted houses. So this movie just has this thing of where they're able to make you feel like you're in a small space better than anything I've ever seen. So there's moments where they get stuck or they get lost, and I genuinely felt panic with them throughout the entire film. I think every emotion you are meant to feel from beginning to end, you feel like in the depths of your soul. And it's just a beautifully done movie. I loved the open ending that we get. The creature design was terrifying. There are these really kind of over the top gory scenes that are just beautifully executed, mostly practical things. It's just a very, very well crafted film. I highly recommend it. So The Descent is my final recommendation for vacation horror, while you're hanging out with your friends going into caves. Yeah, that's all I have for this one. I kind of, a little bit longer than I did for my other one, but kind of short and sweet. This should be my last video with this weird, I just hit my computer. This weird kind of like craziness. After this, I should be back in a place where I have like my beautiful pictures up, and I can get my table done and finally film in like a normal sitting area. And life is about to calm down and content is about to amp the fuck up. And I'm really excited about it. Hope you guys are too. So that's all I got for this one. I don't say this very often, but I'm coming really close to 200 subs. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please consider doing so. Like this video, comment if you have vacation films that you love. If you've seen any of these, let me know what you think. It doesn't matter if you disagree, let's talk about it. You can ask anybody that I'm friends with. I love to talk about disagreeing opinions on horror movies. It's like one of my favorite things. Poltergeist Steve and I got into a discussion about this concept. And I'm not going to rant on this because I may do an update video on it. I haven't decided. About Neve Campbell not being, she's not going to be in the new Scream, supposedly. And so, and he was a fan of Sam from Scream 5, and I wasn't. And I love talking about differences because people have changed my mind before. It happens all the time. So anyway, if you agree, if you don't agree, let me know. I want to know. But yeah, consider subscribing to the channel. Hit the bell icon so you get notified when I have new video coming out, because content is seriously about to amp up. And if you're not familiar with this, I do have a podcast that has podcast only episodes. Hopefully in July, if not August, we will be having a Horror Bestie breakdown every Saturday. And if you ever have recommendations for movies, you want to hear me talk about it by myself, with Steve, with Tasha, with any of my friends, or if you want to come on and talk about it, let me know. I'd love to have people on my channel. I'd love to talk to people. Tasha and I love to have guests on our show. Steve and I have had Adam on our show. We'd love to have people on. If you want to be a part of the show, let me know. I'd love to have you. So it got really dark in here. It's very strange. What in the world? Cloud just came over and was like, whoosh. Anyway, so that's all I have for this one. So here's to content getting more consistent again. And thank you guys so much for watching. Have a good rest of your week. Enjoy your weekend, and I will see you in the next one.